Loic Bruni versus Jackson Goldstone.
I haven't followed the manufactured rivalry because I'm sure those guys are good friends, but...
So Dakota came back. He said he thought he threw it away. It sounded like his team didn't want to support him.
I only did one World Cup downhill in my life, and just the feeling...
In a way, they are putting their life on the line.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. And I'm like, wait a second. We're not prepared.
We're not there yet.
Yeah. I'd say it's more than snow sports. Unless we're talking about like ski-doos.
Maybe your bike dog.
Okay, what is up, sports fans? We're back with another episode of the Recon MTV podcast here in the clubhouse with Allan Cooke. What's up, guys? So we're going to get into it. Basically, there's been a lot happening. Most recently, the U.S. Open of Downhill in America. It's a World Cup today. Well, obviously, we don't have the results yet, but we're going to have another great episode for you guys. Let's go.
Yeah, stoked. U.S. Open, that's like kind of an American downhill racing heritage race. It's been going on since 2003. I think maybe there was 1 year off due to COVID or whatever, but when Fox came in and started sponsoring it again, I think that was in 2019 maybe, or 2018.
We'll call that a rebirth.
Yeah, it's really, really blown up and it's become the premier event. And it is the biggest single payday race in all of downhill racing, which is crazy to me because not that it's a small amount of money, it's 15 grand, but should that be the biggest payday in downhill racing?
15 grand, think about it. The biggest one-day event to rule all of the American downhill scene. That's basically what it is. There's no World Cup equivalent. Well, there's a World Cup in America now, but like this is the title. Think of it as like a golf tournament, almost like the golf tournament, but for mountain biking.
Yeah.
$15,000. It's generous. It's good for a downhill race, but we're only comparing that to other downhill races.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I can compare it to BMX, which kind of like had the Nike US Open invite only event. You got $5 grand to show up.
Really? Every how many riders were there?
15 riders. They would take 10 to finals. Everybody got an appearance fee no matter what. Like basically last place was $5 grand. And then anywhere from up above that was more. And I think it was like 25 grand to win. This was back in 2010. So yeah, I mean, just even BMX, as small of an industry as that is, like look at the mountain bike world. And for some reason, that money's not translating to events for these racers. I mean, sure, the brands are putting in a ton of resources and energy into the race programs, but it's interesting that the races are not paying these riders off yet.
Yeah, it seems like it is getting there. I remember the US Open was 10 grand. Now it's 15. It's a little bit hard with downhill to pay everyone because how many people there are. Maybe those who can make it in the final, there could be sort of like a pay for that. But what do you think it should be? I
mean, US, the size of the bike market here and the brands that are here and what happens here, how it, ripples out into the world and what it should mean. I mean, it should be at least 50 grand.
50?
Yeah, at least 50 grand. I mean, that's a moto win bonus from a tire sponsor if you're a moto dude.
That's incredible. Yeah. So 50, 30, 15, call it the podium.
Yeah.
It tapers off big, but the winner is a big winner.
Yeah. I think that would be huge. I think that would be huge for the sport and get more people over here and really sort of, give these guys that next level, that next step. So then all the other events that are coming up, they sort of feel the pressure, like this is what we got to do. I think elevating that is what needs to happen.
Yeah. Do you think the events as it stands now have room to pay that much money and they're not doing it? They're redirecting those resources to wherever it is. I'm not saying it's going in someone's pocket, but could they do it?
I think you would need some more outside sponsorship, some more non-endemic sponsorship. And you could say that the people putting on the events are making enough money to survive and make a good living, which is good. I think everybody should get paid for their hard work. But maybe that's at a level that's stopping it from going to that next level. I think TV rights, getting eyes on it, getting views. I thought the coverage this year of the U.S. Open was awesome.
It was basically packaged almost like a TV episode could be.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, you saw the race. You saw what happened. You really got inside of it. And I thought that was a big step. Having it live is going to be huge. Having it on a platform that has a lot of eyes and viewers is going to be huge. It's getting harder and harder for this stuff to get good coverage on the established media websites because everything's becoming pay to play.
Yeah. And even if they weren't, it's all saturated. Like there's only so much reach that Pink Bike has, that Vital has, that Recon has. We're trying our best to get it out there. But at a certain level, it needs to surpass just the mountain bike industry. It needs to get onto other pages, TV shows, stuff like that. And I feel like we're getting there. Mountain biking is becoming so mainstream that we're getting there. But there's like this awkward growing period where it's like not quite on the big screen yet, but also really big. And there's so many just random people now participating and buying products.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's interesting. Yeah. If you like kind of pull it out and look at the size of mountain biking, and then you look at other sports like the size of running, like look how big running is. Some of these running events have 10,000 competitors. What's the prize purse for that? Like,
I don't actually know.
It's not that high.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Running's a weird one though, because of the equipment involved, and that's what fuels the industry. So almost, I mean, you can get crazy, but a couple $100 for a pair of running shoes, maybe a belt for your water bottle. But a mountain bike, we're talking about $3,000 to $5,000 to $10,000+ up to $20,000 for a new Levo.
Yeah.
And so it's like you could even compare that. If 20K is the barrier to entry for like a really enthusiast rider to have a couple bikes and all the kit and the bike rack and whatever else, that's like, is that 50 runners? Or you know what I mean by that?
Yeah,
like, could you make that equation?
Yeah, the barrier of entry is certainly lower in running and stuff. I was kind of looking at it more in like the endemic sponsorship side of it and how it's relating to people and getting on TV. But yeah, I mean, the cost of goods for mountain biking is huge. It's equivalent to snow sports, but you can do it all year.
I'd say it's more than snow sports, unless we're talking about like ski-doos.
Maybe your bike dog.
Yeah, but I mean, what's a good pair of skis? Like $1,000?
I think a good setup, like helmet, goggles, everything you're wearing, the boots, the whole kit, I think you're in like $3,000, $3,500.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's news to me anyways.
Yeah. Well, it's 2025, dude. Everything's expensive.
Oh my gosh. Tell me about it.
Well, anyways, beyond just the financial sides of the race and our somewhat jaded opinions on that.
Yeah, side tangent.
The race itself, man, such a good race. Obviously, the story of the race was the winner, Dakota Norton. It really being like solidifying his comeback. You know, his season started off this year with breaking his pelvis in a preseason training accident.
Yeah, and that wasn't mountain bike training. Maybe you could convince yourself it was mountain bike training, but he was riding motocross. And something weird happened. His throttle got stuck on a big jump, and I think he just had to eject and got pretty beat up from it. And that sort of, to me, like begs the question, similar to NFL pros, MLB pros, some of them in their contract have certain things that they shouldn't be doing while getting, in those cases, like millions of dollars to play the sport. Could mountain bikers be limited to that sort of thing because it is such like a seasonal, fitness and health dependent sport?
I'm trying to think like back in the past if any of my athlete contracts had something like that. And I don't remember anything. And I think really what it comes down to is the brands protecting themselves from something happening, like in mainstream sports. I know this is a thing in motocross as well. It's a fine line, some of the mountain bike crossover training that moto guys do. And if they get injured on the bike, there's, repercussions in the contracts, things that maybe they won't get paid as much. But what I really think it is a lot of these riders, their contracts, they're insured. So if something happens, the manufacturer or the team is not having to spend that money. But the insurance companies are the ones that are going to need to put these stipulations in like, okay, yeah, we'll insure your athlete and their ability to compete, but they can't go out and do motocross racing, or they can't go out and do skydiving or something like this, because then that would put that insured money at risk.
I feel like the contracts they're not quite to the point where they need that level of insurance, and that's why they don't have those caveats.
Yeah. 100%. So the elevation of riders' salaries will probably be bringing that stuff in because, we've seen elite world champ level athletes at the peak of their career have an off-season cross-training accident and then just never be the same. So it's a huge risk. You have an athlete that wins a world title and has established themselves as an elite rider. You sign a contract, you're going to earn a term, you're going to earn financial benefits. And then if something goes wrong, I think I think that could be something we would see more in the future as those salaries increase.
Yeah. So Dakota came back. He had a pretty rough season because of this injury. And it sounded like his spirits were a little bit low coming into this race because it sounded like his team didn't want to support him in this sort of like non-World Cup race. Now, there's a difference between not supporting and being a World Cup team rider that just doesn't have his team at an event. You know, he's still got the dialed bike, the multiple, tens of sessions and hundreds of hours of suspension testing and tuning that goes into a bike.
Years of data,
years of his riding. It all compounds. So he's there at the event, but maybe he's not getting maybe you can get into it.
Yeah, I mean, a top factory level team, a rider goes to that race and they have someone who's taking care of their food. Not only are they deciding what they eat, but they're preparing it and making it for them.
Cleaning it up too.
Yeah, there's physio, there's massage, there's chiropractic if you need it. You have your mechanic, your bike's getting washed. You don't even have to think about it. You just get on the bike and ride. And that is a huge advantage, especially from somebody looking up, right? Somebody from down in the lower teams or someone who's a privateer looking up, that all seems like an advantage. And that's kind of the advantage that Dakota has had throughout the World Cup as he's been making his comeback. But he's kind of been struggling. And Dakota's a real mental athlete. He really keys into the way his body's feeling. The things around him really affect his attitude and his moods. And I think, sometimes something that people don't talk about is all of those benefits and the support you get from the team can become pressure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that pressure can weigh on you as an athlete. And then you have all this extra free time to think about that pressure and let that weigh on you and question yourself and look at other riders and do those things. So, there is an advantage to having to do it all yourself. Dakota talked about it. He drove himself up there. He worked on his bike all week. It was a mudder. The first practice session was insane how muddy it was. You got to rebuild the bike. And the confidence that comes from knowing that all that stuff's happening, he didn't have any of that, but he had the distraction that took his mind out of the moment. And in my history of competing, having that distraction to take your mind out of the actual event that you're doing, like maybe it's riding injured or having to do it all yourself or a little bit of food poisoning or it's really hot that day, anything that can just kind of take your mind away from the pressure, it can benefit. And I think we saw that happen for Dakota.
Yeah, and it's extra motivation. The I'll show you, not to say to his team, but to the world, to himself. It's extra motivation. And I want to just put out there too, I think that Dakota absolutely supports all of that stuff he's getting and more. And it's difficult to see him not have that at a race. I'm sure he felt maybe like he should have it. But sometimes with limited budgets and teams, no matter how big the team is, there's a line you have to draw. We can't do this event. There's no semi-truck around. Like the setups in Europe, they're so huge. And I even wonder, like, do they have secondary setups in America? That's another discussion for another time. But it's like, so Dakota came, and through this rough season, he came to the US Open with all these distractions, and he just went for it. And it worked. He won. And he won by a pretty nice margin. I think it was like 3/4 of a second. And the thing that stuck out to me is in his post-race interview, he had thought he threw it away. This track, I don't know if the viewer has seen this, but it's a fairly flat track. It's a fast track that every single mile per hour counts from the top to the bottom. And if you have a little stuff up in the middle, you slide the front, slide out the back, and you like take a 5 mile an hour cut. That will compound all the way down the track. And I think he convinced himself in the middle of the track that he had done that. He sort of had a front end push. It was somewhat minor, but from experience, when you're in that headspace of, I'm racing, I want this to go perfect, the only way I can win is if it goes perfect. The demons start coming in when you're like halfway through and you make a little mistake.
Yeah, everything feels like a mistake at that point.
Oh yeah, and he said he thought he threw it away. And he pushed extra hard in the bottom part. But in the end, when you look back at the run, he was up the whole time.
Yeah, it was really clean. I think the aggression is what we saw come back. I don't know, mentally or being in the US or doing on his own, whatever the reason was, it was the intensity that was back for him. And this is a track that demanded that intensity, like you're talking about. It was, not super steep, so catching the backsides, getting light when you needed to. And he just looked perfect from top to bottom, except for that one little front tire slide into that rock garden, but who knows, maybe that was the difference that just made him let off the brakes that bit more. And he definitely extended the lower down he got on the track. But it was an awesome run. And yeah, today's the World Cup. I'm hoping we get to see him carry that momentum.
I think he'll have the confidence and momentum for sure.
You should see how many Americans are on my fantasy team right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're racing in America. It makes sense.
Gwyn built the track.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, big kudos to Dakota. And the US Open thing looks like it's growing and it's getting bigger. Like a lot of top pros, especially with the World Cup being the weekend after, went to that race. And it totally makes sense why. Like in terms of the organizers planning that event, I think it's perfect. Also, pretty similar terrain to what they're racing. So, of course, a bunch of people are going to show up. And that might just be the thing that event needs to go to the next level financially, get bigger prizes. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think bringing the fans out, like watching the footage, it looked like there was a lot of spectators there. And I think that's what's going to get the mountain interested in doing the event because, you know, they're selling food, they're selling parking, they're selling drinks, they're selling accommodations and all of that stuff. So getting the fans out there, I think, is going to be huge. And yeah, like you said, shout out to the promoters of the race. The track looks sick, like the signage, the barriers, the jumbotron, everything looks super pro. And
it looked as pro as you can get, really.
Yeah.
And
I missed out, basically, is what happened.
Yeah, we didn't go and we're bummed. And it looked like a party. But I want to go back and talk about something that I think is pretty deep. The level of pressure that a lot of these World Cup racers have when they're on a pro team, like you said, looking from outside, you're like, that's everything a racer aspires to be. But when you're in that position, it's not all, you know, fun times and easy racing. It's double, triple, quadruple the pressure. And you have all these people around you relying on you for their livelihood, your livelihood, the team in general. You know, I know of it from like a pretty low down level that if someone messes up a season, that's going to really affect your next season's team budget. And that'll affect their and so on and so forth. And then also what surprised me is like the level of, once you get that much support, like the level of imposter syndrome that these top riders have, even though the reason why they're in that position is because they deserve to be in that position. Very rarely does someone get on a pro team that doesn't deserve it. There's too much money that goes into it. But
yeah, it's not F1 just yet. We don't have people buying their way in.
Yeah. I mean, maybe 1 out of 50, there's some sort of weird deal. But, and they're usually a pretty sick rider too. Like it goes with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who even will have results to back up their spot and still feel like they don't deserve to be there. And it's just a human thing. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally see what you mean. I mean, the pressure to succeed and to the difference when you do bad and to when you do good. Like we talk a lot about, you know, what happens when you do bad. Like you feel this, you feel that, but what's making that happen? It's a different conversation. You know, you're inside yourself and you've let yourself down, and that sort of shadows your perception of everybody around you. So, you know, the way people are looking at you are through disappointment, or the way people are talking to you, you might feel like, you know, you've let them down or whatever. But I think, you know, those big teams, everybody knows what racing is.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, the people that are managing the teams have been doing it 10 times longer than the athlete that's racing. I think just putting trust in the people running the team is the best thing for the young athletes to do. And yeah, you just can't get caught up in that stuff, but I can see how it's hard, right? Like you have 3 spotters on the hill, you have a mechanic, you have a guy who drove the truck, you have the people who set it up, you know, you have all of that stuff. I think, you know, the best way, if I could give any sort of recommendation, the best way to alleviate some of that pressure is just get involved. Like go help set up.
Yeah. So it doesn't feel like everything's just being done for you and you're being spoiled.
Yeah. Like go help set up, clean up after dinner or lunch or whatever it might be. Offer to do a road trip from one race to the other with the truck driver just to see what it's like. Get involved. And, you know, these teams are traveling families. So I think the best way to feel like a community is to participate in it. And it's hard for young people to see that window and see that opportunity that is to get involved. But I really think that's the key to alleviating a lot of that pressure, because then you get to know the people better and you see them for who they are, not from your lens of defeat in maybe some of those cases.
Yeah. And what's hard is for so many, maybe the entire top 30, the goal is to win. There's only going to be one winner though. So there's going to be 27 pretty disappointed people, or like, the top 5 might be content, whatever. But there's a lot more disappointments than there are, triumphs.
Oh yeah.
So there's managing that too. It's just the way it is. Not everyone can win. And I don't think a lot of people talk about how polar the sport is, not just in it being great and bad and great and bad. It's like when you're at these races, it is 110% of your being. You're 24/7 with your team and your teammates. You're in a different part of the world. You're immersed. And when you're immersed for a number of weeks on a trip, it feels like your entire life. Like it feels like 12 months of your year is this crazy lifestyle. And then when you look back at the calendar and you go home, it's probably a bit like NFL players experience and stuff too. It's like a big high and a big low. It's not that your normal life at home is bad, but you're just so immersed and so surrounded by friends and so in this pursuit that you feel like you're home and there's nothing going on, even though you're training. But it's different. And I think you probably have a lot of that from when you were competing in Pro BMX too, is like you have the competitions and then you have your training life, and how that differs is pretty polar. And a lot of the people racing World Cup, their main friend group is around World Cup. It's like other riders, your team involved, and then you go home and they're all on the other side of the world. So it's very different too.
Yeah. It's definitely, you can have an alienating feeling to it being on the road and traveling for racing and stuff. And that just, everything you're saying, that just brings the mental game into play,
It makes the race day that much more important too, which compounds all those other issues these riders are having.
Yeah, we're kind of talking about like some of the struggles that people could have in these situations, looking at somebody who deals with all this stuff really well. We got to bring up Loic Bruni, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Every single one of those aspects that we're talking about that could turn into pressure, he uses that as an advantage. That mentally, he frames that not as pressure, but as an advantage because it's something his competitors don't have, and that fuels him. And that's why he's so damn good.
Yeah. This could get us into Loic Bruni versus Jackson Goldstone. Do you see they're doing a little series where they're collabing on posts talking about the rivalry they have?
I haven't followed the manufactured rivalry because I'm sure those guys are good friends, but
but it's funny, at least the way it's being portrayed is like Loic is really focusing on this competition, which is good. And like you said, he uses that to fuel him and motivate him. And Jackson's sort of like, I'm just out here, I'm riding my race, I want to do my best, etc. And I saw that as two different versions of the same story, like very different versions.
Yeah. Loic has honed in on his process, obviously, and Jackson's sort of finding it, but look who's teaching it. And that's Steve Peat.
Yeah.
Who was the king of keeping that work play kind of balance in check that his whole career. He was always known as the partier, but he was also one of the most fit guys on track.
Really serious.
Yeah, and always during his career, this is something I don't think is really talked about that much, always the fastest in practice. Like first, if you only got one run in World Cup, he would have won all of them. Like always the fastest guy on the track, first run down. But that comes from preparation, from practice, but also the ability to separate yourself from that stuff and be fresh when you need to get back into it. So yeah. I see a lot of that Steve Peat sort of influence with Jackson's approach, but dude, he is meticulous. Like those guys are so insane, like leaving like gnarly lines for the race run. Could you imagine that? Like, okay, I'm going to do this the fastest I've done it ever. And then I'm going to do this feature that I haven't done yet. And this is the most important moment. Like,
yeah. That's the moment that'll make them win or lose, basically.
Yeah. I only did one World Cup downhill in my life, and just the feeling at the start between all the racers, like the people warming up and like getting in line and getting ready to go. It's like being inside of a movie like where the Romans are fighting, like movie 300 where they're like getting pumped up and they're going out to fight, and most of them are going to die. It's like sort of that same vibe. It's crazy up there.
In a way, they are putting their life on the line.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely. It's It's a crazy sport. And I've been at the top of a World Cup downhill for Julie a couple times. And the female class, it shocked me. I thought it was not impressive, but I thought we were doing a lot to go up there with the bikes fully prepped, a work stand, full toolbox. Like, we're ready at the start line. It's all been prepped. And then I see people with a cross-country bike, rollers, a fan, a yoga mat, like all sorts of stuff happening, smelling salts, whatever else. And I'm like, wait a second, we're not prepared.
We're not there yet.
Yeah. And then you realize that downhill really is that sport.
Oh,
especially compared to like enduro, where it's just like you turn up and you just ride. You ride as much and as fast as possible. And but that's the thing, is there's room for that in downhill. In enduro, like, there's a reason why the pits aren't that big, because you have to go around to too many places to have that big of a pit. Downhill, it's like, we're parked up here for a week. We need this to be as good as possible.
Yeah.
And same for the top of the track. Like, show up an hour early, do your routine, spin for 25 minutes. Like, you're warm, you're there.
And that's how you stay in that mental space, is you recreate that process. You hear the Supercross guys talking about it so much. Don't get caught up in the race, just focus on the process. And the more consistency you can have in that process, you can recreate that mental space and just execute.
It also breeds funny good luck things.
Yeah.
People will just like touch their left nostril because they did that one time before they won, And I think it's really cool to see American downhill racing growing so much. Dakota Norton crushed it. Huge congrats, kudos. And hopefully that momentum rolls into this downhill World Cup weekend.
Yeah, I'm excited to see these last couple of races and how Dakota can bring that momentum in. I think there's no question he's over the hump. You know, the injury is not a factor.
Yeah. In his performance, that's for sure. And I hope this was the click that he needed for his mind to now block out that injury and just roll forward full speed. Thanks everyone for listening. If you got this far, you'll know maybe we're giving away a Loan Pass this month before Halloween. Go and comment on the Loan Pass post we did on Recon MTB Instagram. You got to make sure following Recon MTB on Instagram and Loan Pass, and you can get a Loan Pass, access to over 70 bike parks in America. If you're going to ride bike parks, that might be the way to do it. So check it out, guys. Another great episode. We'll see if we have any new cool things going. Maybe we'll recap the next World Cup once it happens today.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, there's two left, so maybe we can go over, do a double episode.
Yeah, and the overalls are getting pretty interesting. There's a whole thing to go into for Loic and Jackson, and now this junior thing.
Oh yeah.
So
I love that the junior category is paid attention to and matters now.
Yeah, I think Asa single-handedly might be responsible for that. I'm not saying the others don't deserve it, but he's a pretty big name on socials. He's been doing hardline, doing super well. Like, he is sort of in the limelight, and then the limelight's now going to where he is, which is still juniors because he's so young.
I think he's the reason today, but I think Jackson made it.
That was the first.
Yeah. From the moment that kid was jumping off of stuff on his Strider, people have been watching. So I think that brought the eyes to the junior category.
Yeah.
And Finn, when he was on, there's been juniors, but it's gotten competitive. So I think that's what's made it exciting.
Right. I wonder where we'll be in another 5 or 10 years, if there's going to be like the Deegans, the Hayden Deegans of mountain biking. If they're going to be that big of influencers crushing the sport.
I'm not going to ever comment on anything about Deegan.
Okay.
I don't want to give him the minute.
We'll leave it at that then. Okay, everyone. Thanks for watching. Peace out. Camera 1 recording.
Hello.
See, because it's
Hello.
red. Hopefully we heard that through your mic too.
You can see it if it lights up. Watch.
Yep. Should we say we're in the clubhouse? Because we haven't really explained ourselves.
We can say it, but people still don't know what it is.
Okay. So Dakota, came back. I'll just start over.
Yeah. So we
Dakota,
can edit that shit.
Yeah, let's go, boy.
I don't know if this can be aired or not, but I've heard a rumor that Steve Pete's process was between final practice run.
I know this.
And race run was.
Yeah, I heard this. Oh my goodness.
It seemed to work.
He had a great career.
Maybe that's what I did. I only won a few big events, but I was doing wrong.